Hey guys, today's question is maximum sum of distinct subarrays with length k. In this question, we are given with a vector nums and an integer k, and we have to find the maximum subarray which have the following conditions. The length of the subarray should be k, and all the elements in the subarray have to be distinct. Okay, and we have to return the maximum sum of all those subarray. If we don't find any subarray, then we will return 0. Okay, let's understand by this example. For the example 154,299, k equals to 3. So the varied subarrays are these 154, then 542, then 429, and so on. So in the first subarray, we can see all the elements are distinct, so we can take the sum as answer, which is 10. Okay. In the next subarray, 9 plus 2 is 11, so we take the answer as 11 and update our answer because it is greater than the previous answer. In the next subarray 4 to 9, all the elements are again distinct, so we update our answer. 9 plus 4, 13 plus 2 equals to 15. Now in the next subarray, all the elements are not distinct as there are two nines. In the next subarray, again there are more than one nines. Okay, so our output is 15, which was this subarray 4 to 9. Okay, so we have to find the sum of that subarray which have all the elements distinct and maximum sum. Okay, so we can see as the size of subarray is fixed, so this is a sliding window based problem. So we will first create a window of the k size. After that, we will increment the value of j, which will be at the right side, and increment of value of I also, which will be at left side. Okay, and we will control that window by these two pointers. Now what other things we need is we need a hash table. Okay, we need an unordered map to store the frequencies of every character, because we have to check whether all the characters are distinct or not. Okay, also if I see some distinct characters in the starting, then the value of I is incremented, so these characters can also, so the subarray which will be at the right side can also become the distinct. For example, second, if the array looks like 3 3 3 1 2 4, let's say the size of the window is 3, so this subarray is not valid, this subarray is also not valid, but this subarray is valid. Also this subarray is also valid. So what we need to do, we need to store the frequency, and we will also take a counter which will store the value of repeated counts. If the any value which have counts greater than 1 in that subarray, okay, in the noded map, that means we are having repeated counts. So if when we increase the window at the right side and we encounter a value which the frequency of which is greater than 1 after incrementing, then we will increment the repeated count. Otherwise, when we increment ith pointer and we see a value which had the repeated count greater than 1, then we will again decrement the repeated count. Okay, let's go to understand it better. So unordered map to store frequencies, let's take the integer. Now let's take I as 0, j is 0 initially, and also we have to take a counter for repeated count in every subarray. So repeated count equals to 0 initially. Now the sum can be large, so let's take it as long sum equals to 0, and also let's take answer. Okay, that will change after every iteration by answer equals to max of answer and sum. Now first create the initial window. So for j equals to 0, j less than, let's go to k minus 1. In the first step of the I and j window, we will take the last element which will be at the k minus 1 index. Okay, so j plus plus. Now we have to take sum, so sum plus equals to the nums j. Now as I said, we have to increment the value, we have to store the frequency of every character, so mp of nums of j will be incremented. Now after this, as I said, if the mp of nums of j is greater than 1, that means we have encountered more than one character in that subarray and the repeated count will be incremented. Okay, so if MP of nums of j is greater than 1, that means there are multiple characters nums j, so repeated count will be incremented. Now let's go for the every window. Okay, by this for loop we have created the first window less than one size. Okay, now we will push this character and then check the answer, then we will decrement from this size and increment from this side. Okay, so let's run a while loop for that. So while j is less than nums dot size. Okay, initially we will take the first element as we have discarded by that sum plus equals to nums of j, and again the same conditions. Okay, now after this we will check if this sum is valid or not. So if repeated count value is 0, that means there is no repeating element in that subarray, so we can update the answer. So if repeated count is 0, we will simply update the answer. As it is long we can't use max function, so let's use the if condition. If sum is greater than answer, simply update the answer as sum. Okay, now after this we also need to shrink the window from the left side, so we have to decrement sum from the left side, which is nums of I, and we have to decrement the value, the frequency of that character also. So MP of nums of I will be decremented, and also we will check if we need to decrement repeated count or not. If the current value is greater than equals to 1, that means the value was 2, 3 or anything. In that case you have to decrement the repeated count. So MP of nums of I, if it is greater than equals to 1 currently, that means there were more than one characters before decrementing that, before this statement. So repeated count will be decremented here. Okay, and also we need to increment I and j at every step. Okay. Finally, after this while loop we can return the answer. So return answer. Okay, let's run this. Okay, let's try to submit. So the code is accepted. Thank you for watching.